Once again, it's time, my friends, for another meet and greet. We're Southern Fried and nationwide, so hang on to your seat. Look around, here's what I found. I guess you'll never know what you'll see on the Southern Fried Podcast Show. Yeehaw.
Hey folks, Dave in the AM here with the Southern Fried Podcast and the Cornbread Nation. For many weeks now, me and Rob have been telling you about our affiliation with Dubby Energy Drinks. I've been drinking some of them on the show, and I just got in today the powder version, and this is the Pond Blom version of this. And hey, I tell you that it gives you the focus and the energy without the jitters or the crash. There's no sugars, no fillers, no artificial dyes. So get you some Dubby today. Use the promo code Southern Fried, and you'll get 10% off each and every order. Not only can you get the energy drinks, but you can also get some cool merch items. In fact, soon we're going to have a hat to show you as an example of some of those things. There's shirts and other things you can get as well as containers to mix up the powder and the water into that you can carry with you. We appreciate your support of the Southern Fried Podcast and also of Dubby Energy Drinks. We'll see you again soon. Take care. And a good Tuesday evening all. I have labeled this one the Southern Fried Breadheads Live. Of course, that ties into our Cornbread Nation on Thursday nights. I was looking for something to cover and or to name it because I don't know. I usually do something else on Tuesday besides just to do a show to not hang out. I don't have an agenda, but I do want to talk about a few things that the president talked about today and then whatever's on your mind. We'll hang out for a little while, see who jumps in here. Welcome to Daisy 9871 on Instagram. We're glad you're in here. And anyone else that may be listening that I just don't obviously see their name. Maybe some of those are hidden sometimes. You don't always see those in every chat. So we're glad you're here. It's a great day to be alive. It's a great day to be an American. And we're thankful for our freedoms that we have here. And let's pray for our president. And very, very thankful for all the blessings that we have in life. We are wonderfully blessed. And I just am so appreciative of the opportunities that we have here in America. So we're very, very thankful for all those things. And let's pray for our president, and pray for the administration, the ongoing nominations for the cabinet. They should have already been confirmed. I mean, let's be honest. We got major things going on in the world, and these jacklegs, as we like to use on Thursday night, these jacklegs are up there just goofing around. I mean, come on, let's get these people in their job. Let's get going. It takes a while. Think about the job that you have to do you've never done before, and you have a job that you've got to do. There are things that you need to get done, and this is February the 4th, and the first 100 days are critically important. You are tasked with getting a job done, whether that's Health and Human Services or Homeland Security or whatever, Attorney General, whatever it is, and you've got to get to work and you can't do your job because these people are sitting up there bloviating about whatever they're bloviating about and bringing up stuff that honestly just doesn't matter. And all they're doing is trying to string it out and cause as much embarrassment and trouble for these nominees as they can, and try and hope that they can stop their nomination. That's all it is. It's just a delaying tactic. You're not going to get who you wanted anyway. It's a new administration. This is who the president wanted. They're qualified people. Let them go and do their job. Judge them on the job they do. Let's go. And I heard someone today. As a matter of fact, it was Killer Carl. Carl is probably live right now. I think they were going to go live at 7:30. He did an early live, and I was in that one, and I heard him say, and I don't want to steal his thunder or anything, but he said if I knew it was going to be like this, he said, really Matt Getz should have just stayed the course. And I concur. He just didn't have the votes. But it's because of rhinos. It's because of people that are not, doing the things that they should do. And also, let me thank the new one in the Instagram. Thank you for being in here tonight. We hope you're well, whatever part of the country or world that you're coming from. It has been an absolutely beautiful day today. The weather is springtime, as all springtime can get, in the low 70s, and it is wonderful. Blue skies. I was inside a building all day in a class, an 8-hour class. Well, they kind of let us go a little early. And, I was like, I was look out the window and I'd be like, man, it is so nice out there. I could not wait to go. And that drive home was just so sweet as I thought about how beautiful the weather is. And I know maybe where you're at, it's not. But, man, you really appreciate good weather when you get it. I mean, it just feels good. This kind of weather gets you energized. It kind of gets you wanting to do some spring cleaning, or it wants you to do a project, or just get outdoors and go do. I'm sure we're going to have some very cold days left because we're just now starting into February. This might be the year that we get a March snow here in this region that I live in. And by the way, two Killer Carl, like I said, he's busy, but I want to say he was very cordial to help us today and get us a couple of followers. Thank you so much for that. We appreciate it. We didn't ask for it or anything. It's so nice to him to do that. Y'all follow him, Killer Carl at Rumble. He has a Rumble channel, and he just tells it like it is. And he has they have a couple of channels. I just go into the one. I haven't never been into the other one, and but he was kind enough to do that, and I just really liked his. He was really on the soapbox today. I really enjoyed it. And to the others that gave a follow, we appreciate you so very much. We're not that far down the road, but we're working hard every day to get there, and just enjoying what we're doing. Rob's not with me tonight, by the way, and I wanted to load it up. I just didn't get around to it. I don't know if I have time on a break, and I don't like to fiddle with stuff while I'm in a live. But our clip from last night's show, Mama Said. It's about 1 minute, 18 seconds. We clipped that out. It was just a fun discussion all the way through that got really funny between Miss Elizabeth, who joined us last night, and Steve at Half Pine Forge, who was kind enough to play along. And she just dropped a bomb on us that was so funny. I had to clip that out, and it is up on all of our streams. If you'll look, it's there. And we're just all having fun. And it was, I wasn't expecting it. I'm glad I wasn't drinking any coffee or energy drink at the time. I think I would have spit it out. But that's one of those that's a keeper. They're legends. They are legends. One of these days we'll have to get them both on the stage together at the same time. Oh, my goodness. And also on that note, give Half Pine Forge on Rumble and X. Give them a follow. And I just got in. I'll have to get it back down. I've got it up behind me on the shelf, the thing. But I actually have the necklace in that he made me, and the little skull pendant. You can't hardly see that, but it's cool. But he's got the old dinner bell, and man, it is so cool. I love it. Just takes me back. I've got things that I'm doing in the studio. I've got a new desk. This is just a temporary. We're just really in temporary situation right now. New desk is almost together. We've got a couple things to do. We're going to be transitioning to that. I'm going to hang that dinner bell behind me somewhere, and somewhere where I won't hit it with my head, might knock myself out. But it just reminds me of them old Westerns and everything. And he did such a great job on that. And it's impressive. Miss Elizabeth, you just killed me. Well, you cannot buy cornbread from the grocery store. Yeah. I get it. I wasn't expecting it. It just dropped. It hit me upside the head so hard. I think it got Robert the same way. And it was great. I totally loved it. The damnation to hell for doing that. I've laughed about that all day long, and you're now legend. You're on, I don't know, about 16 or 17 different streams out there. That clip is up and out there on everything that we have. I think there might be one more that I've got to get. Maybe the audios. I don't have them on the audios yet. But it would work for the audio. So I just haven't got around to those. I was busy all day, and I've been working on it a little bit before work and on breaks at work. And then when I got home, And I just, that's the hard part of being a podcaster, is wanting to be in the live with you guys and gals, and then having all those things that you need to do. But it was absolutely hilarious and thankful. I was just saying, thanks for Steve for playing along. He's a hoot. He really is. And he cleans it up a lot for our show. He's a great guy. His language is a little saltier than mine, and that's his business and his lives, which he did good on his live. I don't think he said one bad word, which I'm going to have to watch Rob's mouth out. He's let a few slip here lately. We're going to have to get on him. But, yeah, he was great. Steve is an awesome guy. He's a great friend of the program. And that's just the great part of podcasting, is you make these friends around the world, either right down the road or around the world. And that's the case. And new people come along all the time. And it just makes it worthwhile. It's just your family. And, it's fun. Killer Carl, I mentioned. I don't know if I came in I think I followed him. I saw his thing one night, and he came into one of our lives, and he's followed us back. And we don't know each other, but I love his show. He tells it like it is. We're kind of in the same vein about how we feel about stuff. And his openings are great because he's playing some really heavy music before he goes. So I couldn't do that here, but it works for him. But he's great, and he's on every day too. And he just tells it like it is. And I listened to about 45 minutes or 50 minutes of his show tonight before I had visitors and stuff I had to take care of in the studio. But that's, these other podcasters and stuff, I support them. I wish there was a way to, freeze time, and you could go and get caught up on all the shows. They were headed to another show, and I thought, I want to be in that one, but I can't. But I can always go back and listen to it. And we met a new friend tonight, and they gave us a follow in his live. And that's just the way all this works. It's kind of like, podcasters support podcasters. It's like truckers supporting truckers or whatever. You just support each other, and not only the podcasters, but their fans and their followers, and those that come along too. For the most part, that's what you see, and it is what's great about it is all these people that when we were kids. I know when I was a kid, everybody's glued to the 6 o'clock news, the 6:30 news, the national news, and all that. Today, some people still do that, but mostly they just go online. I mean, it's proven that most people go online. And podcasters are out there, just they don't have no restriction. They got some editor or somebody telling them they can't talk about something. Now, sometimes the stream might strike it. Well, we've had that happen, but there's a couple of them that are very safe, and they've never done that. So if we get blown off of every stream, we know we still have a couple that will support us, and we're thankful for that. But you're issuing news from your perspective and getting everybody's opinion. And we were doing that last night. I mean, we were talking about all the issues and talking about it from different sides and stating very profound and passionate. You did a great job, Miss Elizabeth, being very passionate about your beliefs and your faith and everything. And I fully support that because that's the way I feel. And we're faced with it more and more. And, I have two tracks on this. The one is in America where freedom, people have a freedom to do what they want to do. Absolutely. Or it's not freedom. But you're concerned when morality slips to the point. It may be legal or free, but it's not right. There's a moral right. And it's either morally right or morally wrong in the eyes of God. Now, there's a lot of people say, I don't believe in God. I don't have a belief system or whatever it is. Okay, you have the freedom to do that, but your nation, the soul of a nation, is so very important. I thought you really touched on that very well last night. Then we just had a lot of fun, and so you made it a lot of fun. I hope you got to work today, although I hate that to say it like that. I know you probably wanted to get back. I know you were trying to go to work, and hopefully you felt like doing that. I ran into some great people today, made some new friends today. I was in a training class away from my workplace at another place and met people I knew hadn't seen in a long time, made some new friends. And that's what's fun about life, is if you like people. Some people don't like people. Funny. Some people don't like people, but most people are very cordial and kind and everything. And, I was sitting with people that were really, and that's what I like about it. They were very different than me. I mean, we're not all the same. When we come on podcasts, we're very different. We have differing opinions, and we may all have general things that we agree on. Surely, I mean, we do, but we're very different. We have little idiosyncrasies. We have, inflections of voice. We have things that we think are funny that others do not. There's just things about us that are different. And when you sit and you talk to people, you immediately find out the common ground. And then you find out areas that you have respect for, but you may be totally different. And I was at a great table. I always hated. I was at a table where people wanted to talk. I'm a talker. And I went, "Hey, Rude, good to see you back." When you were with people who want to talk and you like to talk, it's a great time. If you get with people, it's like pulling, a tug of war to try to pull words out of them. Then that's not so fun. And I was blessed in that way. I was one of the first ones in the room. So I just sat down and they joined me. Hey, that's great. They didn't avoid me. Now they came right on in, and I met many other people too, and they like to talk. And that's what's good about it. If you like to talk, podcasting's good. If you don't like to talk, probably should just, a podcast is good, but from the other side. Miss Elizabeth, you got a very profound way of expressing yourself, and that is great. So you absolutely work on podcasts. So we appreciate you being a part. And I know you're busy, but I hope that you'll make a regular appearance. I'm not saying every week, because you're welcome, but definitely stay with us and come on, because you know what, you make us better, and we need that. We need those guests that come in and become part of something. I've said this a lot. There's a show that it's not been on in, oh my goodness, probably 20 years, and we've all gotten older. But I sat on the other side of a show that I used to just love. It was a local show, and it was just some folks that live in the area. It was TV. This is before they even started putting things on the internet. And I loved that show. They played a little music. They cut up. They would talk about issues, but they also had these funny bits and stuff. And when you look at the Southern Fried Podcast, we really, because people ask us, they say, "What are you about? What do you do?" And I've told Rob, I said, this is really not easy to put into a statement. I mean, we sort of drill it down that we're Southern, we're Christian, and whatever. But honestly, what we do is so varied, and that's because one, we have a lot of different things that we like, and for us that grew up on talk TV or radio or whatever, thank you for that. That's a blessing, and absolutely. You have a standing invitation. Trust me, you have a standing invitation to be a part of anything you want to be a part of. So work that out with your schedule, whatever. So Mama said it's a perfect one, but at least I think. But anyway, I think Rob would agree. But I don't want to say, that's just my opinion. But I think it's great. But anyway, and going into the podcast, it was. I grew up on so many great shows that I liked, and if you look at what we do, there's a little variations of a lot of that because that's a part of us. And the younger crowd that may or may not come in, we do have young people that come in, teenagers, even from around the world. They would never have a clue what some of those were. But I told Rob early on, I said, we both agreed very quickly on a lot of things, and we've developed others along the way. And there are some of the skits that we do are straight out of the 1960s and 70s. I mean, that's where they are. Some of the programming is not identical to it. We don't do anything exactly like them, but the seed that we germinate from, that we get inspiration from, is from that, and we have fun with it, and we hope that others will as well. And so really the puppets, which will be more and more, I mean, we're going to have more spots for them. We're going to keep them in Cornbread Nation, but there'll be other, promos and little skits that come up. There's so many things we've got down, as things that we want to do. And just, it's getting time and getting set up to do some of those things and getting the crew healthy. But all of them really go back to that, the whole idea of that. And, we may be horrible at it. I don't know if we are or not. We may be horrible, but we're going to have fun, and we're going to do it because that's something we really think that people would draw. The reason, two reasons I did the puppets was one is that I've always loved a lot of things that I've seen with puppets throughout the years in some of these shows. There's some that, and so it's ingrained with me a little bit. But the second reason is really, it's the look in my wife's face whenever we have ever seen any mascot, any kind of a puppet, any kind of a ventriloquist, you name it. My wife has never failed to laugh at that. She's never failed. It's always brought a smile to her face. And she's like a kid, just a kid on Christmas morning to see something like that. And I still get that joy, as we're a lot older now, of watching her watch. Sometimes she watches live. Sometimes she'll catch up with us later. She may be in the middle of something else. But watching her watch just the skits of the puppets is worthwhile. If nobody else enjoyed it, the fact that my wife gets a kick out of that is worth it to me. My sister, watching her just belly laugh on Uncle Jeb is worth everything. So it's just what we're part. So it's like an artist, like a musician that says, I play my own way, but I grew up on, I don't know, you could pick any artist. It doesn't matter what it is, but it could, you might have grew up on, I don't know, Leonard Skinner or Rolling Stones or whatever, or Elvis or what, it doesn't really matter. And listen to guitar players. This is what's unique about it. You can take a guitar player and they'll tell you this. You can take a guitar player and they have, even though they copied and they are the sum total of all the things that they enjoy that really was soaked into their musical soul as they grew up was, hello, NV Patriot. Happy Tuesday to you too. Sorry, I was talking. I didn't see that. But when you take a guitar player, like I say, I'm just using him as an example. As I've heard guitar players say this, and you like the music you like, and you bring all those people in a band, they come together and they've got inspirations from all over the place, and somehow they produce this magic, which I'm not a musician, and I so wanted to be. I can pluck a few chords. I so wanted to be a musician. I've even written songs that are just laying around somewhere. I don't know where they're at now, because I've always been, from the earliest of age, I've always loved music and always really written songs in my head. I've done it many times, just written songs, and from the simple to a little more complex. But I never did anything with them. But anyway, you take those together, sum total, and they produce this beauty out of it, this art that comes out of all these different personalities. And what they produce might be totally different than what they grew up on. Like everybody was influenced by the Beatles or Elvis or whatever, but they take that, or it may be jazz or whatever. They take that and they might be producing something really heavy or country or whatever. And it's a magic that occurs that I've always been drawn to. I love to read their stories. Well, you take a guitar player and let's say you choose player X, whatever he is, whoever you like, and you take the guitar out of their hand, and that same guitar, and you hand it to another guitar player, whoever that is. They could be of equal talent. It doesn't matter. And they could, the second person, boy or girl, doesn't matter. They could play the same notes that the first guitar player who wrote this music played. They could play, and it's going to sound different. It will not sound exactly the same. It's the most amazing thing. And I've heard guitar players talk about this. You can practice all you want. You'll never play like someone else. You play like you. Singers are the same way. You can sound like you. You're always going to sound like you. You're always going to, a drummer, they're always going to sound like them. You can't recreate that sound. Neil Peart of Rush is Neil Peart. There's nobody can be him. Steven Adler of Guns N' Roses. Nobody ever sounded like that dude. It was him. It was uniqueness to it. And you could go on and on. Podcasters, I believe, the same way. They can try to be like something else. They're not going to be that, but they're going to be who they are. But the influence, Joe Walsh, absolutely great. Yes. By the way, as an aside there, Rude Poodle, I'll just throw this in there. I was thinking about this the other day, and we can have a discussion about it. I'm open tonight. I don't care what we talk about. We can talk about sunflowers to rock. I don't care. But when I was thinking one day, what was the most talented band? And it's not only when they were a band, but those individual players after the band, or they did in their own career. And the Eagles are they may be the most. They may be. It's going to be really close. But you look at everybody in that band was successful outside of the Eagles. Everybody. I mean, hugely successful in the Eagles and hugely successful outside. They all wrote music. They all were amazing, played multiple instruments, incredible. And I think they may have the title. There's people who could disagree, but that's fine. Throw yours out there. But nobody can sound like Joe Walsh. Man, by the way, most people can't play a good slide anyway, and you can have a lot of slide players. Nobody's going to sound like Dwayne Allman. Nobody's. I mean, even Clapton and all them. They came down. They couldn't believe this guy playing with I think it was a bottle or something. He learned to play on by his brother. He threw it at him or something and picked it up and he played it. I think that's the story. But anyway, nobody sounded like him. And it goes back to what Rob was saying last night. Really, we got kind of into the weeds a little bit on some heavy stuff, which is fine. But that's what he was saying is that be yourself. You have to really, and you could take that to deep levels. I'm not taking it deep tonight. I'm just saying be yourself in whatever you do, and it'll be good because it's you. And just try to make yourself the best that you can be in what you do, and don't try to be anybody else. Peter Frampton, I'm a big fan of. It's sad that he's had to give up, career. He's gotten older and he's got a disease of some kind. So I think he had the final tour. But Peter Frampton, because he had a bad car wreck, a very serious car wreck, his career got derailed a little bit. But nobody ever, that guy's album, that live album he did is among the best of the best. I mean, he is forever going to be known. He was a teen idol, a great player. He had the look and the music and all that stuff. But and to hear his story, how he wrote a couple of his songs, which I always like. I like to hear the story how they wrote a song. His is pretty cool too. And I can not stand Howard Stern, although he is mega rich. He's just perverted. He's good at what he does. But what I do like about him, I've seen clips. I don't watch the guy, but I will watch the clips when he's interviewing a band. And he asked a lot of questions. I'll say this. He asked a lot of questions that I would like to ask. And he kind of drills in that. He's a fan. He's not a player. He'd love to be. And that's me. I do have guitars and I do knock around on them sometimes. But he in that way, we could be alike. So, yeah, Peter Frampton's Frampton Live. I mean, man, just amazing, and you could take 3 of his songs and honestly, he could extend those songs out and play each of them for like 25 or 30 minutes and nobody would care. And if that's all he ever did, and that was the end of the show, like an hour and a half, it's like the Allman Brothers, those extended jams. Nobody cares. You just get into it and you go. And it doesn't really matter how long the song is. In fact, the longer it was, the better it was. That's what the Allman Brothers are really known for. And, and so you could take those 2 or 3 mega hits that he had and just extend those out. And I think people would sit in the seats and enjoy every second of it. I mean, their fans are fans are fans. And they're, in fact, sometimes we get aggravated with bands because it almost feels like they're trying to fit in so many songs because they have so many hits. And you lose extended versions. I'm a big fan of extended versions of songs, a lot of that was because of back in the day was the limitations on albums. You couldn't put so much on there, and the limitations on the radio. They wanted everything short, quick, hit. It was a rarity at one time to ever have a song go 3 minutes. That was considered an eternity. And then you got songs now that are played on the radio. They might be 8 minutes long. What is it? November Rain of Guns N' Roses. That's a long song, but I'm glad they made it. I'm glad they play all of it. It's when Elton John plays his those 2 songs together. They're kind of built for each other, but it's really 2 songs. And he played that is 11 minutes or something. I can't remember. It's really long. Rush was like that. They had really extended songs on some of their albums. And some of those don't make the radio all the time, but you do. Pink Floyd's another one, very long songs, and I like that. But they want to get back to the advertisers, and so a lot of times they clip that stuff. One of the things that bugs me the most, and at every radio station, it's very rare to hear it. Speaking of this, and it's Leonard Skinner's "Freebird." It's a long song anyway. "Freebird" is a very long song. I don't remember the minutes on. Somebody can pop it in and tell me it's a long song, which I don't complain. But they always clip off the very end, even as you've already went that far. There's a little guitar piece as they're jamming there at the end of that, the Freebird, the live. And at the very end, they always clip that. That bugs the heck out of me when I've heard that on the radio, like, why did you do that? I mean, you've already went this far in. You might as well play the end. That the fan in me, that bugs me. Steve Miller, yes, back in the day, we always said anybody that was listening to Steve Miller was probably doing some other things. It kind of goes hand in hand, just being honest. I mean, that's what we always thought. If somebody all of a sudden started jamming to Steve Miller, his songs even speak of it. So I bet his songs are making a huge comeback, with all the the legalization that's going on in the world or around the United States. I'm not promoting it. I'm just making a statement. It's definitely, it definitely fits right in line. So he's been doing it a long time. I think he still is touring. Is he not? Is he not out on the Def Leppard tour? Or they were, or they're going to be. I know they have these really big arena tours. I was thinking Steve Miller was a part of that. Casey and the Sunshine Band, remember them? He had some really long jams too. Was you a fan of Casey? Casey, you could probably name at least 3 to 5 of his songs or their songs. Casey and the Sunshine Band. I was born in the 60s, but and I do like music from the 60s, but most of my growing up, formative years was in the 70s. So I'm a big fan of all this different kinds of music from the 70s. And my mom was a huge lover of music, all different types. She didn't like, rock and roll, heavy metal, not like that. And nobody knew the term heavy metal then, but she didn't care for that. But she had a lot of varied interest in music and instilled that into me. And so I have a wide range. I remember blowing some people's minds at work before I'd bring in some of my collection. And a couple of artists I put in the CDs, the CDs and the player. And I remember one time a guy looked at me and he said, "You're really listening to that? That's not a joke. Like, you're really listening to that?" And he was, I'd say, "Yeah." They said, "We would have never guessed that you would listen to that." Cause I kind of, in my lane was the hair metal, the hair music. It wasn't really metal, but the hair bands or music or whatever you want to call it. It was really, and also the singer-songwriter stuff. Manfred Mann's Earth Band, great songs. Although one of their songs, fans totally miss. They miss the word. They say the wrong word, right? If you've been a fan, you would know this. It's the funniest thing, which is a whole nother thing that you can talk about, is all the bands that people think the word says one thing and it says another. But there's definitely one for them that gets messed up. I've talked to friends that said for years they thought it was something else. Just the inflection on it on the radio. Coming off of the album or CD or cassette or whatever it is now, digital or whatever it is, download. It's just the way it sounds, but sometimes that can be hard to hear. Welcome to everybody coming in. We got people jumping in all over. We appreciate you. And we're just talking about whatever. You're welcome to jump in the chat and just talk about whatever, post something. We're kind of whatever. I enjoy talking about music though. That's a fun one for me. But that's another band, the Manfred Mann, and theirs was kind of extended music. It went a little long. I mean, I don't mind the long, but it was longer than what radio would normally play. You know what I miss? I miss and used to be in the Chattanooga area. Now, for those that are in the Chattanooga area, KZ used to have, I haven't had it in years. I don't think it was the, what was it? It was the Saturday night. They played the whole album, like the midnight thing or whatever it was called. I used to enjoy that. They would play a whole album, which is rare anymore that you hear a whole album of anything. It's all singles. It's all pulling a song from here, a song from there. Every once in a while, you'll get the 2 for Tuesday or something like that, where the radio stations will play back-to-backs of your favorite band. And so sometimes you get that. And I know there's FCC rules on it. You can't play but so many. I think only during certain special things that there's a lot of FCC rules they have to go by. But whenever you can hear a whole album front to end, or whatever, we used to say front to back because you had to flip the record. Then it was fun because albums were put together. People don't realize the arguments that occurred about what songs went on the album, because most groups had more songs than they had space for. So what got on the cutting floor and put back for the next album or whatever, which is a good problem to have, but people, are passionate about their art and their music and they wouldn't like that. But then what's the order? What goes to the front of the album? That was considered the primo spot. What goes on the front of the album and what order? What order? What's the first song? Second, third, fourth. And one of those stories I remember was Rumors, Fleetwood Mac. I mean, iconic album. Still one of the best sellers. It sells. It continues to sell. They're all making money off of that thing. The ones that are still living, and I guess the estate for the other one. But Stevie Nicks had a song that she'd written for her mother and wanted her to have the full royalties to that song. It was something for her mom, and they just didn't have room for it. I think it was Fleetwood Mac himself, Mick Fleetwood, excuse me, that had to go tell her. She was very upset. Later on, she did release it. And it was a big hit, but that's always tough. What gets cut from an album or a collection or whatever it is, and that's why some bands went to double albums. That was very popular at one time. Still happens sometimes. I was passing through Walmart the other day, and I was it tickled me to see the album section. I mean, that went away at one point, right? And one of the albums I seen, some of them I didn't even recognize, but one of them I seen was AC/DC Back in Black. So I was like, well, yeah, okay. I remember going through the record shops and flipping through and seeing that one, but a lot of that has came back full circle. And then all the collectible stuff. We were talking this morning about collectibles. That is a huge collectible item, is the Blu-rays and all that stuff. They press them in different colors and stuff. People get into that. I got out of that a long time ago, so I don't. But yeah, they're gonna get that money somehow or another because they know what you like. But at one time, I think 60 minutes was the max that an album could hold, and that was pushing it. That was pushing the quality because you had to be careful. And I remember the Def Leppard's album Hysteria. I think I clocked in at 67 minutes, and that of course went on CD. Their previous album, was pressed mostly probably on album, was Pyromania. 4 years later, they're putting the 67 minutes Hysteria on because they had more room, so they were thrilled that they could have a couple of longer songs, and that was really even at that time, that was a lot of, and still today really would be quite long if you think about an album. I think that was I don't remember the number now, if it was 14 or not that, it might be 14 or 15 songs. I can't remember. They released like 7 singles from that album. It was loaded with hits and was built to be that way. But then when I was talking about the Fleetwood Mac, and then you go to Tusk. You go from Rumors, which was an amazing creation. They had a little bit left over. You go to Tusk, and that album sold like 3 million or something, but it was considered a letdown because Rumors was so massive and sold so much. And they did. Lindsey did a lot of experimenting as really producing that album and the stuff he did in the studio, and there was some real gems off of that. But there were other songs. They were good, but he was doing a lot of experimentation, so it was considered a disappointment as a double album. And but it's kind of hard. It's funny, you have a disappointing album that sells 3 million. Of course, off of the strength of Rumors, I'm sure. Tusk is huge and still played today. And Sarah, I think it is, and there's a handful of others on there, but it never really made it to anywhere near what Rumors were. Because how do you duplicate that anyway? How do you duplicate a massive hit like Rumors? Guns N' Roses, Appetite for Destruction. How do you recreate that? Well, I think they did a pretty good job with Use Your Illusions 1 and 2 double album, or 2 singular albums, really, not a double, really 2 single albums. And they had a lot of hits. They had a lot of leftover material as well that could have made it on Appetite that got released then. But some people consider those as disappointments, which I find hard. They both sold great, and there's a lot of songs that are played on the radio still today from those. They thought they should have kept, a lot of fans I've talked to, they're big fans of theirs, thought they should have kept it to a single album and then release some of that even later still. But that's gone with the passage of time, is that they decided to do it all like that. I remember that was when, you remember going to the midnight sales, like it was the next day. So the record stores would open up at midnight. I did that a few times. That was fun. In fact, we bought 2. Went with a friend. He bought the Guns N' Roses Use Your Illusion 1 and 2, and I bought someone else that was being released that night. And so we had a lot of music to listen to, but you had your CD player in the car, and you started listening and listened to the whole album before you went to bed. So that was a lot of fun. I don't know if they still do anything like that, But if we don't, it's a shame because that was a fun thing. Uh, matter of fact, one night we went to this midnight sale. I'm trying to remember I think it was the old Turtles records or something like that. I don't remember, but we went and bought this album that came out. It doesn't matter who it was. And they came to my house and we listened to a lot of the album on the way. Well, my friends were, we live in a neighborhood, and sometimes when you're having fun, I'm going to word it that way. When you're having fun, you don't realize what you're doing is disruptive. And so we were playing this music really loud, or he was in his truck. And I noticed a couple of lights coming on in the neighborhood because, it was after midnight. I mean, it's probably 1 o'clock in the morning or later. I don't remember. And lights are coming on. I'm like, hey, man, we better just shut it down for tonight. We'll hook up tomorrow. He's like, yeah, man, I'm going on. And so apparently my neighbors all called the police. And so he went down my street. He turned up the other street. And I think he got intercepted by about 6 police officers. I didn't find out about this till the next day. And they didn't get in any trouble, but they sure gave him a going over because everybody in the neighborhood said, there's these long-haired freaks out playing music loud. They woke me up. They woke the dogs up. You got to come out here and check it out. And then I felt bad later. I thought, man, it's all my neighbors. They probably think I'm horrible, because we were always never disruptive or anything. But we were, as you say, letting your hair down a little bit and having fun. But I don't know if y'all have memories of doing stuff like that. But the midnight, and I was telling Rob, back in the day, and he remembers it, but the big spotlights in the sky, and they were doing a lot of times when they were releasing albums, music stores would get those and try to drum in, obviously it was expense there, but usually you get a lot of people. I've been to some midnight sales that were standing in line outside the door waiting to get in. I mean, they would order hundreds of an album and then, and then sell for, they might be open for a couple of hours. They're going to stay open while the business is still good. Rude Poodle here asked me if I'm a fan of Deep Purple or Nazareth. Now I would say yes, but not to the level where I would call myself a fan. There are selections I like. I was listening to, there's a lot of iterations of Deep Purple. Richie Blackmore's Deep Purple and different people came in and out. I did like some of their stuff. I'll be honest with you, I don't know that I ever owned an album by them. I had friends who did, and I would listen to theirs. So it was obviously the stuff on the radio you would hear. I never saw them in concert. And I still, when their song comes on the radio, I wouldn't turn it if I was listening to it. Deep Purple. Nazareth, they were, I wasn't allowed to listen. It is another reason too. I wasn't allowed to listen to a lot of groups like that, obviously, when I was young. And a lot of these groups were, early 70s, and I was just a, 8, 19-year-old kid or whatever. So a lot of that stuff I never was hearing anyway. So it was stuff that I heard later when I got older and, was an adult and stuff, some of it. Nazareth, I was thinking of their song the other day, and I told Rob, I said, I know it's not it's not proper to say, but that song they have, and you know what I'm talking about. It's amazed me. It always amazed me they played that song on the radio. But I thought of that song the very morning that Colombia was backed off by President Trump about the military transports of illegals back to Colombia. And I thought, you don't mess with, and that song came to my mind. And so, are you a big fan of them? Do you like Nazareth and Deep Purple? There's a lot of musical history there, especially Deep Purple. A lot of musical history. Blackmore's, he inspired so many, and you hear his name come up a lot. Very talented, hard to deal with sometimes, I think, from what I've heard, but I don't know. And Nazareth, I don't know. You kind of feel like they should have been bigger than they were. Maybe both these bands. They were both big, but I think Nazareth for sure probably should have been a little bit bigger than they were. It was a lot of competition in the 70s, a lot of competition for bands. There's always a lot of competition. But yeah, my first concert, he says, was Ozzy, Blizzard of Oz. You know what? That's a memory right there, because there's a lot of people that didn't get in on that. And unfortunately, it was over, so fast. So you definitely got to see something that's I mean, nobody's ever going to see that again. It's a great memory. You can go back and watch it on video. Some of that stuff they did have, they're not great, but they had some pretty good videos of some of the shows on that tour. And by the way, I don't know if you have read Rudy Sarzo's book Off the Rails, but if you're a fan, you should read his book about his being with Randy in the early iteration of Quiet Riot, and then Randy leaving in that whole scene as he went to audition and got in the band with Ozzy as he was leaving Black Sabbath, and then Rudy joining him. And they obviously played until Randy died, and he just couldn't handle that. And then he went and played with other bands. And I think he's in his 70s. He was currently with Quiet Riot, who's still around, obviously, minus Kevin DuBrow. But Randy Rhoads, and one of the things that really ticks me off, and I get it, I'm not a player, but I really get this attitude of some players that I always hate this anyway, when people try to rank the best, and they want to. There was a lot of competition between Randy Rhoads and Eddie Van Halen, huge competition. They were all vying for the same audiences with hundreds of other bands at the time on that scene. Absolutely. And some would say that, I've heard people put Randy Rhoads playing down. He wasn't that good and all that. Come on. I mean, you know what? He's legend. And it's not because he died. The dude was already laying down stuff. I mean, and I don't know if you got to see that. Rudy Sarzo is it was sad. And Rudy Sarzo is a great guy who, by the way, I'll throw this in. I know I say, by the way, a lot of things pop in my head. He's from Cuba, and he's the guy, and I've heard him, follow him. He's a big animal lover. Follow him because he will tell you exactly how bad communism is. This guy knows. He lived it. Definitely legend, Randy Rhoads. And just a great, a fine young man. And his time in the sun is sealed. And we probably, I'm not going to say probably, we lost all that great music that would have oozed out of his fingers on that guitar and other things. Because, he was always, and that was one thing really about him and Edward, is the experimentation, really trying to drive things. And of course, Randy a little more with, in one way, and Eddie was really just the sounds and stuff. And Randy, was trying to blend in, some really amazing things into his playing. And we just lost a lot. It's just a horrible thing. But Rudy's book Off the Rails is a must read. You can get that. It's not expensive now. It's been out for a long time. And he said everything in that book he wanted to say. I've heard him talk about it, and he put it in. He'd wanted to write it. He wrote it, and he's got nothing else to say. I mean, he said it all. He tells you everything he feels about it. It was very hard, but when Randy died, he just couldn't stay. And I don't like how the Osbournes treated him, Rudy, and I would say even Jakey Lee. I don't like how they treated him. I just don't care for it. I'm not going to put anybody down. I just think that they did some disservice to them and how they treated him when Rudy wanted to, just said he couldn't handle it. He was so sad going on stage every night. He wanted to go. He wanted to leave the band. He just couldn't handle it, and they really turned on him. It was kind of an ugly thing. This reminds me of that furry convention where I dressed up. Wrong chat. No, I love it. Throw it out there. I said anything tonight. It's good. It fits right in. I love it. But I've been to a lot of really good shows over the years. I didn't start going to shows until I was in my 20s, early 20s. And man, did I make that lost ground. But if I had to list bands that I didn't get to see that I regret, one would be because of Randy. I'll be honest with you, I was never a huge Ozzy fan. He's good. I mean, his songs are memorable, and this is not a slam. It's just I like guitar players, and I'm not really into that imagery and stuff. That goes against the grain for me. I just don't care for that. Black Sabbath, all that stuff. I don't care, and that's just me. I don't want that. But seeing Randy Rhoads was definitely a miss. I never saw Van Halen live. That was definitely a miss. I never saw them. And it seems like there's one more. It'll hit me in a minute. But most of the ones that I ever really wanted to see, I saw. And in some that I didn't even plan to see that now I'm glad I did because they were on the bill. You know, you had those shows that were, 3, 4, 5 bands deep. You know, you just kept bringing the stage, opening up the stage as the bands. You know, you start out in the daylight. And there's nothing like, back in the day, there's nothing like going to an amphitheater and you start at, I don't know, 6 o'clock or something, and you're seeing, or maybe it's 7 and it's daytime, and you're just watching all these, the early bands in the first group. The first band is maybe a solo artist or whatever, and they're only on for about 15, 20 minutes, and then you go to the next one, then the headliner plays about an hour and a half, and they have noise restrictions, so they have to be off the stage by slightly after 11. It's supposed to be 11, I think, but sometimes they'll stretch it just a little bit. But you never really liked Van Halen. Well, I really grew up on them and was a big fan. The day that Dave left the band, I just crushed me. I was just like, no. I remember saying that, no, and nothing against Sammy, but yeah, and I can tell by the music you're asking about. I can see that, honestly, kind of where your path is on that. You've never been to a live concert in your life, not a single one. That's an amazing statement. I'm sure there's a lot of people that can say the same thing, NC Native. But I will say this, that it, to me, Woodstock is part of a class. Yeah, I got you. If you're going to see the album or hear the album, you'll obviously be disappointed because it's live. There's all these extra sounds, and sometimes miss a note or so live key, but that's what makes it great about being live, and it's loud. Even the slower stuff is loud. I kind of figured that you would kind of go down that road. I never saw them either. A lot of their music I did like. It's kind of sad that the guitar player that's kind of, which one is it, KK, or, he's got his own thing, which is good though. I mean, I've heard it. It's good. I do have I was in a music shop, and I remember I've told a friend of mine that loves music. I remember this like it was yesterday. Yeah, I get it. You never been. I mean, you never been to a concert. That's interesting. But I've been to tons. And I'm not exaggerating. I've been to bunches, but I was in a record shop and I was just shopping. It's, when you're a fan, you're a fan. And I walked in, I was walking around, and all of a sudden this scream just came out of the speakers. They were playing music, but it made the hair stand on the back of my neck because I thought, what is that? I mean, it just came out of a low to just a full-on scream, and it was the start of one of Judas Priest's songs. And I was like, whenever I thought it was who it was. And hey there, Brad the Chatty. I love you. Thanks for being here, Brad the Chad, YT. I hope I'm saying that right. But he said it's the latest Judas Priest album. There were people out there in the store looking out. I forget, it was around this would have been around late 80s, and I can't remember which album that was, but they definitely played. I mean, Rob Halford, man, what a voice. So yeah, you get a lot of that, and I don't know what's the heaviest I've been to, but I never saw them. Probably Metallica, I guess, was probably the heaviest. Well, actually, there's probably one more that was a little heavier, but I don't remember their name. I went to something one time and heard a no name that was probably heavier than them. But seen the Aerosmith, which on that one, Aerosmith sounded probably closer to what it sounds like listening out of the car speakers than anybody ever heard. Amazing sound. Saw them at the Starwood in Atlanta. And no, I didn't vote for Harris. I did not vote for Harris. And those who did, they exercised their right. Yeah. Dave is a big Gwar fan. Yeah, no, I have a friend who is. I was never a Gwar fan. I do know who they are. Never was a fan. We're getting a lot of different folks that are not. I get you. Yeah, no, I'm a Donald Trump supporter and conservative. So yeah, have at it. That's good. But Gwar was a friend of mine we became work friends, and we're friends to this day. And he was a musician and played in heavy bands, and he loves Gwar. I was never a fan. But I bet you were a fan of what's the group? Dee Snider's group. I bet you're a fan of them. What is that? Just went blank. I bet you're Rude Poodle. I bet you're a fan of Love Sir Trump. Awesome. Yes. Well, he's daddy right now because he is smoking everybody. The latest news, by the way, I know I say that a lot. I can't help it. When he said, if Iran assassinates me, I've given instructions that they're to be obliterated. There's a MAGA Minute coming up in the morning on that I did this evening. And I don't know if he said it or not. I kind of believe he did because he doesn't really mince words. I mean, he says it like it is. But when he said that, I guarantee the Iranians, they believe it. And what I said in the MAGA Minute is that, pray for the president, he stays healthy. And Iran better prays that he stays healthy. Because if those instructions are real and something happens to him and he gets blamed on Iran, there's going to be a huge smoke cloud coming up over Tehran and the rest of that country that I don't. Twisted Sister, yes, thank you. I'd have no use for them either, friend. They're causing a lot of trouble in the world. Vance going to nuke Iran. Yeah, he's the one got the instructions. After, I wonder how quick, God, I hope nothing ever happens, but how quickly would they do that? Like, something happens, are the bombers in the air or the missiles going? I mean, wow. I mean, it was an amazing statement today, but it's genius. I mean, you've told the whole world, if anything happens to me and it's Iran's fault, they're obliterated. I've left instructions. We've never heard anything like that before. We've heard things said before. It was kind of alluded to, but it reminds me of, I don't know, like a movie or something where a guy says, if I die, if I'm not around, finish the job. It's almost like a mafia thing, If I don't make it, if something happens to me, if I eat an orange and I drop dead, you get them. You get every one of them and whop the floor with them. I mean, that's just the way I see that. It's like, we're taking you out. Take that, you mullahs. Go ahead. Make his day. I mean, if you really want to just end your whole existence, are you, because that's really what keeps people from, doing nuclear weapons, whatever. It's like, okay, we could destroy them, but before we get our missiles there, their missiles are in the air and we can't shoot them all down and we die too. So it stops these fanatics and nuts and evil people from doing that, because if there's one thing they like, it's to stay alive. They like for other people to go kill themselves. They tell their followers, hey, go strap a bomb on for the cause of whatever and go kill. And they just preach it and celebrate and everything, but they're not the ones strapping on the bombs. So yeah, interesting. Welcome all of y'all in here, and thank you for the strong statements. Yeah. Absolutely, man. Take them out. Iran, man, they just keep messing around, sponsoring terrorism. They have never stopped. I mean, they just keep on. It just gets worse and worse and worse. An Italian mobster. Well, who's going to be standing there? Vance would be standing there, but who's going to be representing the family? That's Barron. That slick back hairs, all 6'7" of him, or whatever he is. He'd just be shaking his head like, yes. I mean, I could see the hands all together. He does that a lot. He kind of does that. He'd be leaning in, It's like the Corleone, what is that? Godfather 2, where, it shows him, or maybe that's, Godfather 2, where it shows him going back and he's avenging the death of his dad and his mom and everything. And he leans in and he just guts the guy, I mean, it's brutal. That's a brutal trilogy of movies. I mean, all the mob movies are. I mean, that's what they do. Kill their opponents and their enemies and their competition and the gang wars or the mafia wars, I guess a better word. And they take them out. But that's what this sounds like. Straight out of. It's not straight out of Compton. I know it's straight out of Bar Largo, but it sounds like straight out of Brooklyn or something. I can hear, oh man, my brain is not working on names tonight. What is the group? One of them's dead now. And I think they don't tour anymore or anything, but the Beastie Boys, I can just almost hear You know what that song where what's the name of it? Where they pull up in the song, they look like FBI agents or whatever, and they jump out. I hear that music playing today when this announcement was made. It was like, that's what I heard in my brain in the background is that song. What is that called? Somebody's going to tell me here. Y'all are much more in memory tonight than I am, but it just cracks me up. No, and listen, I don't want anything bad to happen for anybody. Certainly, I don't want nothing to happen to the president. I don't want the people of Iran anything to happen to them. But he just told it like it was. I mean, that's called laying the sword down right there. Like, okay, bam, this is what we're going to do, and no sleep till Brooklyn. That would work. Intergalactic. I don't remember if that's. Do you remember the one I'm talking about? I mean, and they pull up, they get out. It's made to look like it's in the 70s, and they get out of that sedan, and they've all got the fat ties on and everything. It's what they look like, either IRS agents or something like FBI, I guess. I don't know what I'm trying to think of, but brass money. I'm terrible with song names. I am too. If I had time, I don't want to take time away from the show to look it up. If Rob was here, I'll let him do research while we're live, and I keep the show going. I get bogged down. I don't like doing that. It's like people will say, I texted you, and I say, well, I was on the show. Sometimes I will look at my phone if I know something important is going on, but Paul Revere, no. Oh, but we're known, our memories are attached to songs, and sometimes when you hear something, that's what you hear is this song playing. And that's what I was thinking of today when he's like, yep. What is the old Dirty Harry saying? Go ahead and make my day. Well, that's one of the songs. It is one of the songs, Fight for Your Right to Party, which Travis Kelce has made famous again. Not that it ever has not been famous, because he says that at the Super Bowl post-game celebrations. You got to fight. He gets the crowd going. And I think I've heard McAfee do it on stuff too, because he's kind of in that same vein. But it's not that song. It's closely it's around that same time frame. I don't think it's on that album. I think it's on the next album. If I had to just thinking back, because that's a long ways back. I think it's like a few years ago. We're talking back in the 80s, man. It's like a long time ago now. We're trying to think of these songs. I don't listen to them or nothing. But when I think about that music, that's what comes in. He's got his song, the president, dancing to YMCA and Soul Man and all these songs. But then I just see him when he turns all rogue and he's like, okay, I'm taking you out, bub. Do it. I double dog dare you, do it. You'll see what happens. They just don't know how to deal with that. I think this is an amazing turn. Think of how we went sabotage. That might be it. You might have nailed it. I think that's it. Way to go. Somebody confirm, but I think that because I'm the MTV era, so I think of the video along with the song. But I think it is sabotage. You nailed it. I'm pretty sure that's it. So President Trump telling the Iranians today what he told them. I hear in the background sabotage playing, and he's got a big fat cigar as he sits there in the Oval Office, and this is just my image of it. And he said, yeah, go ahead. Go ahead. I've already left instructions. You do. Yeah, that's it, Rude. Yeah, you do anything to me. You take me out, you're dust. And liberal heads have got to be exploding tonight. I can't believe he said that. He's a lunatic. No, it's genius. It's absolute genius. He knows there are threats on his life. But what he's done by saying this is he puts the spotlight right on the Iranians, and not on all Iranians, the leadership, the mullahs, these evil, fanatical leaders they have. He has put the spotlight on them, and the whole world's watching. Putin's got to be sitting back going, this is great. He works with Iran, but he's got to like it. He's like, yeah, I wish I'd have thought of that. Because he's that same kind of character, just in Russian form. I did hear today that Zelensky said he's ready to sit down and negotiate. Well, sure he is. You can't last much longer. I don't think it's going to be much of a negotiation. I think it's going to be you're gone. I think that's what's going to happen. Mullahs with a mullah. You are absolutely right. Mullahs with the mullah. Yeah. And they're probably still spending on the billions that the Obama administration sent over there, a pallet of cash, or many pallets. I don't remember. I mean, what a weak bunch of people. You know, they shoot our people. They come after them. They fire on our ships. And it's like, oh, we'll send you a whole bunch of money. We'll let you have nuclear energy for your nuclear program. We know you're not going to use it for nuclear weapons. We'll just cave to every demand you have. Just please, please, please say that we're going to get along and we're going to be friends. And of course they say, sure, we can say that, because they don't intend to follow through on any of it. And then when the first bad thing happens, they'll say, but the agreement still holds. This one episode, I know Americans died, but this is just one. It was an accident. It didn't really mean to happen. We're going to play nice from now on. No, these people don't understand that. Good grief. Yeah, and you're right. That it did supposedly, thank you, did a huge damage to that. That's your Mossad right there, right? That's who did that, right? From what I've read. I mean, I believe that. I'm sure there's other agencies that have assisted. I don't know, though. Maybe not, but I think that's Mossad. And they did set them back on that. You know, they claim they've got this thing so deep that the bunker buster bombs and all that can't affect it. I've got news for you. If you keep bombing craters, you'll get down to where it's at. I mean, if you keep blowing up the sand and you blast it out, there's a blast zone. Eventually, you're going to get down where that's going to cave in. I mean, how many do we have to drop? We'll just keep bombing it until we get there. I mean, they saw what happened to Iraq when Israel said, we've had enough of that. And they flew that formation in and took out them trying to build one, which they should have stopped this before it ever got off the ground. You can't let a rogue nation like Iran have nuclear power. You just can't. I'm sorry. You can do coal. You can do, you can have hamsters on wheels. I don't care, but you're not getting nuclear weapons. North Korea cannot be allowed to have nuclear weapons because they're nuts. They're absolutely nuts, and they're crazy, and they'll do whatever with it. So Venezuela, anybody like that, there's no way that the peaceful nations of this earth should ever allow them to have nuclear weapons. That's a recipe for disaster, an absolute disaster. And for Israel, for America, that's the two main ones they hate. We can't stop the superpowers. They've already got them. I mean, it's just going to have to, again, equal threat, match the threat, and let them know, just like, he did. But what's amazing to me is what I don't know about this is what has been said that he would say that now. What has happened? What has he heard? He definitely projects out. He likes to put things out there and keep everybody off guard. But it makes me wonder, has something happened? Let's see. We should give our nuke program to a stable country like. Oh yeah, they did the same thing there. I remember when they gave up the rest of Gaza to them. You know what? And this is Israel's fault. I know Israel's done a lot of things we don't like, but this was dumb. They went in there and said, we're going to give back all of the land of Gaza because we're going to have peace. All they want in Gaza is to have their land back in Gaza. We're going to uproot all these Jewish families. We're going to pull them out of their synagogues. We're going to let live TV. We're going to show how we're just going to grab these people up and force them off their land, and we're going to give it back. Land for peace. What a great idea. Somebody in a room somewhere said, I've got an idea. Let's give up land for peace to fanatics. This will answer. It's the same idea that I've heard from liberals who say, if the Gazans simply had jobs, they wouldn't kill. Do you know how many Gazans have come across and work in Israel proper? They get work visas they come across, and how many have worked for absolutely wonderful bosses who treat them with great respect, pay them more than they ever get paid in Gaza, make them leaders in their companies. They've turned around and killed their owner and then run back across the border to the safety of Gaza. That has happened so many times. The land for peace deals, the first one and the second one and every other little one they've done, is stupid. It doesn't work. You don't give in to bullies. And I'm sorry. No, if you want to end the squalid conditions, do what President Trump did today. This is going to start cleaning up some stuff. He pulled out of the fraud that has occurred with the money that we've given to those programs over there that the UN has been maintaining for over 70 freaking years. So they kept these people. They have no citizenship. They have no rights. They're stuck in those little camps, and they're nothing but terrorists, just terror building cells is all they are. And when you got to go in, you got to go in major force to get somebody that's killed, and they do that. and the UN goes in, gives them food and clothes and all this stuff they're supposed to get, and they're just kept in a hate mode. That's the UN. Way to go, UN! And on top of that, the UN, they've got the receipts. The UN, which we've known this for years, the UN has run shields for them. They've helped them. They've hid them. They're neck deep into this the terrorism. Many people associated with these groups, and it is taught from childhood. You're absolutely, killing is the word. You're absolutely right, and they do teach it from childhood in their schools. And you can go look at programs or websites like Memory, and there's others. Palestinian, was it Middle East Media Watch? There's several of them, and they will show you what they get video of it. They get examples of it, and they will show you what they're teaching these kids to hate, and to kill themselves. Little kids going to terror camps at 5 and 6, 7 years old, learn how to be a terrorist. Well, what do you think is going to come out of it? They're not going to grow up to be lawyers and doctors and, factory workers or whatever. Most of them are going to grow up to be killers. I mean, any common sense person could figure this out. And the lunacy of it. And President Trump says, we're not giving you another dollar. We're not giving you nothing. We're done with you. Oh, I love this man. I mean, it's the greatest thing. I've been screaming about this for years. I mean, they just keep throwing money at the problem. Money doesn't fix it. Money is the problem. I mean, my goodness, this is so stupid. And so, we have a chance to try to get some of that done. And I get it, Spartan. And again, I'll put it up there. There's a lot of people that don't like some of the things they do. And there's some things that need to be fixed on both sides of this. But those camps, which they're just kept into squalid conditions. And I just disagree with any kind of funding for that. These people should be absorbed into nations and given proper birth, citizenship, paperwork, whatever, and made to be productive members of society. And they need to clean up any funding for schools that are teaching hate. Why would we fund that? I mean, let's not fund that. And yes, there is Mossad issues, and I get that because I don't know the half of what they do. I hear a lot of what people claim they do, and probably most of it's true. I don't know if all of it is. And we've had some great discussions in here about 9/11, and so I get you, I do. But Israel's certainly not perfect, and they are. I mean, we'll just stand there. They've done some things. There's some wrong on both sides. There's some wrong on both sides. But the UN has driven a lot of this. They really have. They're a part of the problem, and they don't want to recognize that. And so when they want to do right, then maybe we can make some changes there. But there's two things we're going to say here. One is that Israel's not moving. I mean, they're not leaving the land. And there's nobody going to be able to drive them off that land. They're going to stay. So we got to figure out what's going to happen with the people that live around that, and what is going to happen to have peace, because, you fire rockets, we do this, we do that. It's just back and forth. And it just means that people die, innocent people. And it's uglier now than it's ever been, except maybe during the wars. And we've got to get a handle on that. But yeah, the Mossad is they have a hand in a lot of stuff, and I do know of some of their operations, but it's an ugly business. But a president has to deal with this, in ways that keeps world peace. I mean, he's got to get them both back down and get this thing settled out, at least to a point that it's very limited. And you're always going to have a rogue person who's, they're sitting listening to their preacher preach hate, and they, whether it's in the territories or whether it's in Gaza or wherever, or West Bank or wherever, and they're going to go and they're going to kill. But you got to, limit that down. It's no different in America. You got hate in the inner cities and stuff. There's always going to, be people that are going to strike out and lash out and do bad things because that's what they're going up in, hate. But it's not on a grand scale. We're not bombing cities and stuff and collapsing buildings and all that. So this has got to stop. People got to live, and you can't kill everybody. I mean, you're not going to eliminate Hamas. You're never going to eliminate, even more so, Hezbollah. They're always going to be there. And there's 100 other smaller factions. I mean, there are tons of them, but Hezbollah is huge. Hezbollah makes Hamas, they look like, I don't know, Puerto Rico inside. Hezbollah is heavily funded by Iran, maybe totally. And they have much more much more powerful weapons than Hamas has. Hamas is powerful, but they're limited because they have a lot of people that are controlling them to a degree, to a point. Hezbollah is the much bigger entity there. But yeah, that I've read and studied that region for I don't know, 25 years now, and you get familiar with all the different names and organizations and who's with what, and then sometimes you hear stuff and you're like, I mean, listen, Gaza gets their energy from Israel. That needs they need to fix that up. I mean, again, Gaza should be self-sustaining, but they got to quit the violence, and Israel needs to stop having control over anything, because they can shut power off. They can do that, and I'll agree. All that needs to get cleaned up, and it's the only way to move forward is to start having some of that, to be able to rule themselves. And but again, you can't have terror leaders, whichever name you want to call, people that are warmongers and terrorists, and what you can't have that. So that's either side or both sides. You can't have that, and you have to clean that up. Somebody does, and pressure's got to be put on from the nations of the world to get it cleaned up. Because the danger here, not only, first of all, it's a horrible situation that's going on, and people are dying every day. I mean, it's just like sitting back watching two animals destroy each other in the wild or something. You just feel like you should step in. Animals are one thing, but these are people. You're watching humans being destroyed left and right, and I don't know how we can't. I have a heart for it. I mean, I'm compassionate, and I can't. Okay, I get it, but that's not going to happen. And even if you did that, Spartan, you're still going to have a problem. You're still going to have a problem. That's not going to eliminate the problem. That would not, and that's not going to happen anyway. I get what you're saying. That's not going to eliminate. You're not going to eliminate the problem. This flows both ways. It flows both ways, and that problem has to be cleaned up. And so the nations of the world are going to have to put pressure there to and they do to a degree. But right now, there's not been much pressure put on lately. I think it's heating up, and I think it is. But I listen, as a Christian, I'm not for I struggle with if and even the president's statement about Iran. There's innocent people there. There's Christians there. There's people that that don't deserve bombs falling out of the sky and toasting them. I get how strong that statement is. I get that. I'm joking around, having some fun, but I don't care for the mullahs at all. Whatever happens to them happens. But there are people that are involved, and that's horrible. So there are people in Israel that don't deserve that. I mean, they wouldn't deserve that. It's never an answer. And even if you did something like that, you cannot carpet bomb out the problem. You'll never do that. That's not the way forward. And so it's just not going to happen. And it may take change on both sides to move forward. It may. And that probably will happen in a couple, 3 years. I think it probably will. To whom, I don't know. But there's probably going to be some changes coming. I'm sure of it. But in the short run, it's ugly. It's going to get, and it may get even uglier. I think the president is very strong in this area. I think he had the Abraham Accords before. He wanted to solve some stuff. He brought some negotiations together. And even though all the Arab nations can't stand Israel, but most Arab nations don't. One thing they don't like Iran. Every one of them fear Iran, because the same bomb that they would drop on Israel is going to affect them too, and would be dropped on them because they would eliminate their enemies. So they have no use for Iran, except there may be one rogue nation out there working with them, but most of them do not care. They don't want to lose their lives. They don't want to lose their wealth. And so they'll speak evil about Israel, but behind the scenes, they're working deals with them to try, and the United States, to try to keep Iran at bay. When Saddam Hussein was so strong, that was one of the reasons he was there, was the Arabs wanted it. They said one thing in the press, behind the scenes, they were glad this guy got knocked out, or this family got knocked out. Saddam Hussein and Qusay and Uday, and they didn't bother them a bit. They were crazy. They were threatening their Arab neighbors, and so they wanted them to be gone just as much as anybody else did. They just ain't going to come out in the press and say it. And you have the tribal factions. You've got the Sunni, the Shia, and the Kurds, and other smaller factions out there, and these don't play nice with each other. So all the Arabs the only time Arabs all come together among those regions is for a common enemy. It could be United States, it could be Israel, it could be whatever. But they're not going to come together at any other time because they can't stand each other. And then sometimes in the same nation. the Shia, Bashar Assad, the Sunni, which is usually more of them and they're poorer. They don't have the power. The Shia is usually in power. There are less of them. And the brutality that goes on against the Sunni is, and if I remember right, President Obama was Sunni, if I remember right. So, okay, let's put this up. Israel and the Jews are very skilled at deception. It's a major reason for the suffering in the West. Layers of deception. You say the word Jew, and the brain shuts down for most people. Well, I know there's a lot of programming there because of anti-Semitism that has been done, and things have been done throughout the centuries, really. But nobody has ever. I would never say that Israel is living right, because they're not. Israel is they're not perfect by far. They're not living a Christian. They're not Christian. There is probably as big a sponsor of some things that I'm against as any nation in the world. But and we're seeing end time prophecies that will come to fruition here, and I'm a big believer in those, and because that's the Bible, and study those, and you see where this is heading, and we're getting closer to those days every single day. And so the puzzle pieces come together a little more. It gets a little clearer, sometimes not as clear, but there is, again, you're free to have opinion here. I'm not going to label any and all one people group evil. I'm not going to do that, because it's not true. They're not all one people are not evil. There are many people within people groups that are evil, absolutely. And it may be a large number, but it is not everybody. And I will not say that. So you're free to that opinion. I appreciate you being here, and I appreciate you bringing different opinions about it. We just be different here. I'll admit some problems, but I'm not gonna label all Iranians bad, or all Russians bad, or all North Koreans bad, because that is absolutely not true. And and that's what we want. We do support free speech, and we want to have that, as long as we're not attacking somebody in the chat or whatever. You're free to that, and we do support that, and that's and so I don't want to be closed-minded or let somebody not have their say. I mean, me and Rob sometimes don't agree on certain issues, but we just voice the opinion and move on. So I get it. It was generalities. I'm not suggesting that you were, but there are some people that say that. I get it. Absolutely. We're all on the same page. We're all on the same page with that. There's a lot of ugly there, a lot of ugly, and they've caused problems around the world. Absolutely. I mean, we could have a whole show just talking about some of that stuff that probably has the fingerprint on it. So isn't it amazing? And who's working behind the scenes? I mean, who's got the cigars in the mouth at the big table? That's the puppet masters who are driving all this stuff around the world. Us as normal, hardworking people in whatever country or station that we are, we're subject to all that. The people in Israel, the people in Gaza, the people in America, the people in Russia, wherever, we're stuck with that. Our sons and daughters die because of these puppet masters that lead us into endless wars. And if there's not conflict, they'll create a conflict. And they like to practice on their new weapons they've made. They like to. It's like a video game to them, and people are dying. And I think there are times when war is necessary. If you're being attacked, well, you got no choice but to either die or go to war. So there are times you have to go to war, but war is never an answer unless it's just forced upon you. It's never an answer. And the collateral damage is so devastating. And then you build hatreds for decades. And we just need, that's why, as he said, we need the Ukraine-Russia war to stop. We need to stop. Absolutely. It's never an answer. It's never an answer to do that unless you just have to. People didn't like the United States going to a war in Iraq twice. There are people, will say that. It's stupid for us to go over there and be involved in that. As much like former President Biden, putting all those resources in and getting involved in this conflict, because using NATO as the excuse. I'm big on America first. We do have allies, but we need our allies to act right. We need you just can't have an ally that's going out here running mouth and stirring up stuff, and then saying, Article 5 is opened up now. You got to come help us. I don't like that. That should be there for like somebody's, just been attacked out of the blue, and you stand together with smaller nations, and with a majority of nations, you say, of the world, you just say, stop. We're not going to allow that. But the problem is you got some little nations running their mouth, and they're running their mouth right now against Russia. And I'm like, are you silly? Stop. I mean, he takes you over in a day. I know it looked like it was supposed to be that for Ukraine, but there are some of them over there. It wouldn't take much, and they're the ones running their mouth. So great discussion tonight. Man, we're getting into some good stuff. We've went everywhere from Quiet Riot to talking about I get it. There's a lot of there's a lot of that around the world. I'll say that. And when you see the connections, you just have to put the pieces together. I understand that, Spartan. I do. So yeah. And we're stuck with the fallout of all that. We're stuck with the fallout of all the and that causes all of us, whether we're stuck in the middle of a war or not, we're affected by it. We're affected by it through our military maybe being involved, especially special forces, funds that are being sent around the world, goods and services driving up because of war, the horror of watching, children blown up. And, it's just horrible. And so we all are affected in many, many ways. And it emanates out from there. That's ground zero, so to speak. And it emanates out from there, and it affects us in the world that we are. And then, before you even know it, you may have enemies you didn't plan on having because yes, you're right, the Spartan, you're absolutely right. They are. You're absolutely right to that. They are. Absolutely. I've seen those as well. I did quite a bit of, I'm not as studied as I used to be, but I did a lot of study in this area. And I used to like Glenn Beck, how he used to put the little dots together. He put the person up and say how this person is connected to this person, to this person. He'd have that board. He had the Velcro or whatever he had, and they would go on there. That was great. It really gave you a visual of how these people connected. And that's what you're talking about, is you're just connecting all the dots. What if we're giving money towards, that money's being used to supply weapons and bullets and whatever else, even electronic jamming, the list goes on and on. Then yeah, we are involved in that way. We have a hand in it. So I understand that feeling. Absolutely. So let's hope that gets at least slowed down. I mean, come on. I don't know that you can stop it. Honestly, we're kind of like it's kind of like we're watching a horror movie, and we don't know when it's going to be over, but we know that there's still going to be more killing, and we're not sure who. We may be sure, maybe we are sure who the bad people are, or we're not sure totally. There may be some surprises along the way. I kind of think that's where we're at. We're watching this horror movie go along, and there's a lot of players involved. Some we've identified, some we may not. Some may be not identified. Some may have been really good and diligent and identified most of, if not all, the players. Others might have a little more difficult time because they haven't studied as much and they don't see it as much of what's going on. By the way, there's I don't know if you listen to him, but Bards of War. You've been on. He's on Podbean, but if you listen to Bards of War, you would really enjoy Scott Kesterson. If you're not familiar with what I'm talking about, I listen to his stuff as often as I can. You would link up really well and listen to Scott Kesterson at Bards of War, because he really spends a lot of time in this, and his big push is not only that, but the children, and which that really draws me in. But he has some great life stuff that he really puts out there. He really takes things and puts it in a way that just really hits your soul. And he's very big on we've got to stop the abuse of children across the world, and when are good people going to stand up and make that happen? So BOW is for short when you see their Podbean. And anyway, Scott Kesterson, and he was embedded with a Canadian outfit. I've seen his documentaries he's done. He also is a big supporter of American military that were I don't want to use words because then I'll get in trouble, but they're the time when a lot of military left the military. I can't talk about why, but He was embedded. He's really involved with that, getting their stories out. And he's also involved with documentaries and stuff. He's got one where he was embedded with a Canadians. Like I said, it's pretty gripping, some of the stuff that went on there. But he talks about all that. Absolutely. So if you have time, give him a follow. Okay, Ryan, I'm not familiar with him, but I'll check it out. Okay. I thought, well, maybe I have heard of him. It seems to ring a bell a little bit. I think I may have, I've not listened to, but I think I have heard of. Okay. I'll check it out. So I like to listen. Sometimes I don't agree with people all the way, which we don't on most things, really. I mean, people listen to me now, they're not agreeing with everything I'm saying, but that's okay. That's the freedom of thought. We may agree on a lot. But I do like to listen to people because it makes me think and debate in my own mind and consider things I may not have thought of. And I just think that's wise. I was in a class today. That's all we were talking about really was how do we grow ourselves and how do we, go past our own biases and our own whatever is, and how do we get better as a performing team of work, at a workplace or whatever. And, we work better together moving forward and you glean from other people. And I'm big on that, learning from others. So yeah, it is impossible to agree on everything. We can't even agree on all the cornbread on here. So, oh, you got to go watch the clip. If you haven't seen the clip, it's on Rumble. It's on everywhere. Miss Elizabeth, she's probably crashed out right now. She came in for a little while, but she's working and just got back to work. So she may have went to bed early. They got a lot, you got to get up early. I do too. I got a class. I got my second day of class tomorrow, but they did let us be there. We got till 8:30 to be there. So that's kind of nice. We'll be back in the morning for our Wednesday morning live at 6 a.m. to 7 with Rob. And then Wednesday night's Hump Day News for tomorrow's schedule. And then we'll have our own other programs as we go into the rest of the week. So we keep on doing. Okay, folks, I'm probably fixing to get off. I've been clocking along here, running my mouth for about an hour and a half. Y'all have brought some great, funny things and serious agenda items, and I appreciate all that. I'm all over the place tonight. It's sort of open discussion. If you've taken part or if you're just listening, and that's what it's all about. Form those opinions. Everybody has passion about certain things, and I wouldn't expect any less, and we should be. I don't think any of us in this here tonight, I don't think any of us would be for the annihilation of any people fully or children. And so, we got to hope that good things happen, more good things happen than bad things. Do pray for the president because we don't need to see anything happen to him. That would be extremely horrible for any nation to lose their leader in that way, especially the United States of America. And I cannot imagine, one, it would be horrible that it happened. Two, it would be very chaotic for our nation and probably for the world. We throw around that phrase World War III a lot. It gets thrown out a lot. Every year or so, somebody's like, well, this is probably the start of World War III. Who knows when that may happen or, for whatever. I'm sure there'll be the Third World War because of end-time events, but that would precipitate possibly something very much like that. I don't think any of us want to see that. I would hope not. Right now today we're trying to battle every day, just trying to be healthy, trying to raise our families, work, buy the food we need and pay all the bills we have and many other things. Throwing the war into the mix would be horrible. Nobody wants to see. You're right. Let me put that on screen because you really are right. It was not ended and not ended correctly. Even if you think it ended, it wasn't ended correctly. We are still suffering from that. You bring a lot of great thought, and I appreciate you coming in here. You're always welcome. And I like the debate. I like us having a discussion. I don't mean debate, just the free flow of information back and forth. And, I think it's good for all of us to consider those things. So please do come on in, and we appreciate you. Appreciate all of you tonight. We'll be back in the morning. I got to go load a few things and get some sleep and go see my wife before she ventures off to bed and spend a little time with her. We should get the studio more. I was hoping to have it already. We're really close on a lot of things in the studio. we got to get, it's kind of disorganized right now because we're still finishing up some stuff, but you're going to be seeing some changes there soon. That'll help, not that you're going to be in the studio, but it will help get us better. Rob's changing some things in his studio. In fact, I think tomorrow he gets a new monitor in, so that'll help him. Anything new helps us get better at what we do. We see things better. Small screens are not good, especially you get older like me. And just how we get positioned and how we get better at our craft of what we do. So we're trying. We are really trying, truly trying every day. And I know sometimes we've had things that didn't go exactly right. That's just the way it goes. But we were trying. So, hey, great night. Have a great night. God bless you. God bless America. God bless President Trump. Let's pray for our nation. Pray for the world and all of you. And y'all have a great night. And we'll see you on the flip side. Hey, life is precious, and we're not promised another day. And I trust and pray all of you know Jesus Christ, your Lord and Savior. If not, it's just a prayer away. And if you're not a Christian, you say, I'm not going to be a Christian, I'm this or that. I respect it, but I'll still want to throw that out there. I am a witness for Christ, and so I would say that. Yes, pray for all wars to end. Absolutely. And one day they will, because the Prince of Peace will be back. And the theocracy that he has, there will be no war. And so I'm sure they might try, but that's going to be short-lived. So we pray for the better day. We pray for the better day. Hey, have a good night. Take care. God bless. The Southern Fried Podcast appreciates you. We've just crossed over 30,000 followers. We're so humbled and amazed at that number. And I know that's very small versus some, but to us, it is a high mountain that it's just crazy to us. And not that all 30,000 are listening at any one time or even ever all listen, but the fact that they followed us and said, hey, we believe you enough to give you at least a follow. That's pretty amazing. And we're humbled by that. It's not a cockiness. It's a humility that we are so very thankful, and we meet great friends like you. If you never say anything, the fact you're here, I see your names on the screen. We appreciate you so very much from all across the world to right here at home. Take care. Good night. And we'll see you in the morning if you can be on. If not, tomorrow night or whenever we see you, we'll see you soon.